Possibly as a result of a leak from that naughty man Brad Sams earlier in the week concerning the Xbox Series S, Microsoft have finally come out and given us some more details. And we've had pictures, and you can see one here, and we've had the price as well. And before we get to the price, I just want to talk about the actual image of the console itself. And yeah, this is what we can expect to get. It's considerably smaller than the Xbox Series X, the smallest console they've ever made, according to Microsoft. And it's also the fuggliest console they've ever made as well. I don't like the aesthetic of this. I don't like that black thing on the top. It looks like someone stuck a grill pan on there or something, or a grill plate. And Grant from Stories for Games, he actually said that he thought it looked like their adaptive controller, and I'll show a picture of that here, except for it hasn't got two speakers. It's just got the one. The adaptive controller looks like it's got two speakers. I like the adaptive controller. I think Microsoft did a good thing there, and I think bringing in more people into the gaming community is a great thing, and the adaptive controller is great. But they've definitely taken the design cue from the adaptive controller and applied it to the Series S. And as I say, I'm not too keen on it. I like the Xbox Series X, and I think some of the special editions that people have mocked up look phenomenal, and I think it could end up having some great looking special editions. But this one, not so much. Maybe they can do something with it later on down the line and we can get some nice looking special editions, but yeah, not too keen on what it looks like at the moment. Actually, if you put it on its side, it would look like a grill plate, and people would be putting their pans on it and trying to fry their eggs. And if some people have suggested it does get hot, maybe they actually could fry their eggs on it. But we'll find that out in due course. I suspect it'll actually run quite cool. So yeah, I don't think that's going to be a big issue. But to the price. The price is, drumroll, you guys know this already, $299 or £249. And if I go down here, let me just see if I can find it. This is what Phil Spencer had to say. Empowering you with freedom and choice is the core of everything we do at Xbox. Yes, sure it is. In addition to the traditional option of purchasing the new generation of Xbox Series X and S, God, having a problem with these names, at $499 estimated retail price and $299 estimated retail price, respectively, we're expecting our Xbox All Access program. We're expanding our Xbox All Access program to 12 countries this holiday, with more to come in 2021. Now, so we've got the price of the Xbox Series X as well at $499. Now, a lot of people were predicting this, though a lot of people were saying it was going to be a lot higher as well, saying it was going to be $600. This actually translates as well to £449, and I actually think that's a pretty decent price. So, on the price, let's just talk about that for a moment. I think that these prices are bang on. I think $499 for the Series X is a great price. I think $449 in the UK, that's 450 quid. That's not bad at all. I think that's actually really reasonable for the power on offer. And $299 is a steal, as long as, and this is the big issue, and I'll get to that in a minute, this thing can actually deliver, because that's the worry that a lot of people have, because the specs aren't so great, not compared to the Series X. And just before we get into that, though, I'll talk about the specs in a minute. I just want to talk a little bit more about this, value for money proposition and the fact that we've got this all access as well, because see if I can find it. No, that's not it. Yeah, all access. Here you go. In the UK, you can get it through Game and Smith's Toys, and in the US, I think it's GameStop, and I'm not sure where else. But you can go in and you can do these deals. Now, this is what they're talking about. So you can spend $499 or $299 for the S, or £449, £249 for the S. or you can do this all access. Now, this all access deal looks like a bloody good deal to me. You've got on the X, you've got $28.99 a month, and you get an Xbox Series X console and 24 months of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. So you're getting the console and pretty much an all-you-can-eat buffet of games for $28.99 a month. I think that's a really good deal. But potentially, the even better deal for families is this one here. $20.99 a month, and you get an Xbox Series S console and 24 months of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, the same as this one. Now, for those of you who don't know, and I'm sure most of you do, but Game Pass Ultimate gives you Game Pass for Xbox, Game Pass for PC. You'll soon have access to game streaming, what used to be called xCloud. That's coming very soon, and that will be bundled into it, so you'll be able to play these games on your phone as well. And Microsoft have just announced, and let's just go back to the Microsoft page because we can look at it here. The EA Play membership is coming to the Xbox as well. So if we go into EA Play membership, we can have a look at EA Play. This is EA Play, and you've got a whole raft of EA games. Let's go to the first page. You can see all these great EA games, you know, like FIFA and NHL and Madden, that have nothing to do with gambling whatsoever. They're adding lots of value to this. Sorry, I couldn't resist. The reality is that, you know, you are going to get a lot of extra games added to this, and this is no extra charge. Now, you can actually buy the console as well and then get Game Pass Ultimate for £10.99 a month, or I think it's $15 a month. And so that's a good deal as well. And this is all going to be added in. And there are good games, Unravel 2, A Way Out. Not played A Way Out, but I've heard it's good. And things like Titanfall 2. Titanfall 2 is a fantastic game. And the Mass Effect games, I think all the Mass Effect games are on here as well. So there's a whole raft of extra games coming to Game Pass. So that is a very good value proposition. And as I say, let's see if I can find it again. These are going to be very attractive for people who don't want to shell out directly for the console. Now, obviously, they're tied into a 24-month contract, but people are kind of used to that now with phone contracts. This is pretty much a phone contract for a console. And we've currently got it for the Xbox One S, but nobody's going to be buying an Xbox One S, are they? Unless you want a lower spec console with a disk drive, because the Series S, this one here, the Series S, let's see if I can find the picture, this one, this grill pan here, or this grill plate, that's going to be the entry, but it doesn't have a disk drive. So if you wanted a disk drive, you have to go with the One S or the Series X, because the One S is still going to be made, apparently. Well, God knows why they're doing that, but maybe that's what they want to do. They want to have an entry-level option with a disk drive. So that's the value proposition and what you're going to be getting from Xbox. So, in terms of the power option, they've got that sewn up with the Xbox Series X, or given that you've got, Xbox games are coming to PC, if you really want to go for the power option, you can always build yourself a high-end gaming rig and put a 3080 in there and play to your heart's content on that. So Microsoft have got the really high-end, then they've got the high-end game console, then they've got the the grill plate, or the value option, and the S as well. So they've got it pretty much tied up, and also you're going to be able to play on your phone as well. So you're going to be able to play games from Xbox across the board. So they got the power, they got the price, and they got the services. Now, the problem there is this thing still. Because let's just talk about, I want to go in and talk about the specs of the Xbox Series S for a moment. And this is where it might fall down somewhat. And this is a little graph or a little table put up by Destructoid. And we already knew most of these specs. And if you look, we got the CPU, GPU power, blah, blah, blah. Now, the Xbox Series X has pretty much the same CPU as the Series S. The CPU is, slightly less powerful. Nothing to write home about. It's to do with the, multi-threading. 3.6 gigahertz with SMT enabled, which is the multi-threading, or 3.4 gigahertz with SMT enabled. 8-core AMD Ryzen Zen 2 CPU at 3.8 gigahertz, 3.8 gigahertz also, or 3.6 gigahertz on the Series S. So it's marginally less powerful CPU. So there's nothing to write home about where the CPU is concerned. Where it gets a bit concerning, though, is with the GPU. Because if we look down here, GPU power, I know, I've said this myself just this morning, actually, on my Discord, that teraflops aren't everything, and this is a next gen, so we need to be a bit wary about the whole teraflops thing. But 12.15 teraflops for the X, 4 teraflops for the S. Now, there were 6 teraflops for the Xbox One X. So on paper, the Series S is actually less powerful graphically than the Xbox One X, which has been discontinued. So that could be a problem. It's aiming to, let me see, performance target. If you look at the X, it's 4K at 60 up to 120 frames per second. And the S is 1440p at 60 up to 120 frames per second. Now, I'm telling you now, you're not going to get 120 frames per second out of this thing most of the time. And if you're running 4K, I doubt you're going to get 120 frames per second out of the X most of the time, let's be honest. But and then if you look at the RAM as well, it's got considerably less RAM on board. You've got 16 and you've got 10, so it's a jump there. And there's it's running the Xbox Series X is running 10 at 560 gigabits per second, or gigabytes per second, I should say, and the 6 gig at 336 gigabytes per second. I'll get this right in a minute. And then with the S, again, it's lower. You've got 8 as opposed to 10, and it's running at considerably slower speeds, 224 versus 560. And then the 6 versus 2, you've got 6 at 336 versus 2 at 56. So again, that's a considerable drop. But if this thing's running at 1080p, or maybe even at 1440 up to 60, because this is the thing, I think that Microsoft have built this to a budget. With the X, they've tried to push the boat out, and again, they would have built it to a budget. I mean, they could have built something that rivaled a high-end gaming PC, but if you're going to build something that's going to rival a gaming PC with a 3080 in it, then you guys are going to be spending considerably more money than $499. But the S especially has been, built down to a price, and so it's probably going to run at 1080p most of the time. Let's be honest, and maybe a few games at 1440. Maybe it will surprise us, and I think it could actually. I think it could surprise us and run at 1440, 60 most of the time. But we'll see. As Serb put it in my Discord, we'll have to see what Digital Foundry say. And he also said, and I agree with him entirely on this one, he'd be interested to see how the Xbox Series S, get it right in a minute, compares with the Xbox One X. So the top of the range previous generation against the bottom of the range new generation. Will the S outperform the X, the One X? And I don't know. And I am very interested to see. But that's where it could fall down. because people want a value proposition, but if the games are virtually unplayable, then that's going to be a problem. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people have talked about this, and what I'm interested in here, though, is the way Microsoft have gone about this. They've got the power. I've said this already, but they've got the power option. They've got the value option with the S. They've got an even more value option with the Xbox One S, which I don't understand why they're keeping that, to be honest, but it does seem like they are. And then they've got, as I say, the price. So they've got power, they've got price, they've got the services, with EA Access or whatever it's called, and they've got game streaming and all the rest of it. They've got virtually everything in place. Virtually everything is in place for the Xbox to do well next generation. And, let's be honest, when you're talking about Xbox doing well, you're not just talking about the consoles doing well, the Series S and the Series X. What you're talking about is their services doing well, because these are part of this whole approach. And I actually think they've got everything pretty much in place to have a really good system in place, a really good overarching gaming strategy, if you like. It does look to me like Microsoft are really coming out swinging. They're looking to the future. They know that streaming's the future, but they're not leaving behind the traditional way of doing things either. And I think it's a great strategy, and I think they've got everything right, with one caveat. The elephant in the room. And the elephant in the room is that they haven't got the games. And, we all know that Halo has been put back and it should come out next year. And I reckon it will come out the tail end of next year. I don't think we'll see it before then. But what else have they got? Now, a lot of people said, Microsoft got no games and the PlayStation's going to come out and it's going to have all these games. No, it's not. The reality is that the PlayStation's not going to have very many games at launch either. We don't actually even know if Spider-Man is going to be a launch title. And now I've said this, Sony will come out today and announce that it is definitely a launch title. As far as I'm aware, though, we don't know. We don't know what's going to be launch titles for the PlayStation 5. So they could have a problem as well. And COVID's hit all these companies. So it's not just Microsoft. But the difference is the perception of Microsoft is that they haven't had games. And it's a fair perception as well. It's an absolutely fair perception that they haven't had the games. And this is probably one of the reasons why they've done this deal with EA to get some more games on Game Pass, because it makes it look even more attractive to get Game Pass. But the perception of Sony is that they have games. The perception of Xbox is that they haven't got games. And so when they come out and they haven't got much and they but they hold back Halo, it doesn't look good. And so Sony look better, even though they're not doing that much at the moment. They're letting Microsoft shoot themselves in the foot. But everything else, as I say, is in place for Microsoft. And here's another thing. I was watching Brad Sams the other day, and he said something that I thought was really interesting. He said, what happens if Microsoft launch the Xbox Series S and Series X with Flight Sim? Because we know it's coming to Xbox. It's been out on PC for a while now, a few weeks. If it drops with Flight Sim, that kind of solves the problem, doesn't it? And I don't know if it will, and I suspect it won't. But it changes the narrative somewhat, because this game has been very highly reviewed. And a lot of people it's a sim, isn't it? But a lot of people think and it is something that could show off the console, because people are saying, they've got nothing to show off the console. But you can bet now, if Flight Sim comes out and it has been optimized, and that's another big if it's been optimized for the Xbox One X and hopefully the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S, if it comes out and it's been optimized for those two consoles, obviously the S won't do it real justice, But if it does, if it drops with them, the perception, as I say, changes. And all of a sudden, Microsoft are launching with a big hitter, something that does genuinely show off the power of the console. So, that's just one to hold close to your chest and wonder. And, the fact that Brad Sims said this in passing, Brad Sams, sorry, got his name wrong. Brad Sams tends to be right on these things most of the time. And he didn't say it's going to happen, but I think it would be interesting if it does. So that's just one, as I say, to just hold and see, because it might happen. But it's interesting. I want the Xbox to do well this generation, and I think Microsoft have done a lot of things right. I also think they've done a lot of things wrong, or some things wrong at least. But yeah, I think this is looking good. And if you want egg and bacon for breakfast, you've got your solution. Right, anyway, look, that's me done. I've been whittering on for long enough now. I'm going to finish this one up and go and grab myself a much needed cup of tea. And I'll speak to you guys in the next one. Let me know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to give this thumbs up and share it and all the rest of it, because YouTube hate me. They hate all small and medium YouTubers these days. I'm not the only one. But yeah, it's getting very, very difficult to get videos seen, so you'll be doing me a favour. And it doesn't cost you anything, so hey, everyone's a winner. Right, anyway, I'm gone. I'll speak to you in the next one. Bye.